Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michael Seville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty, a place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
What's going on, brother? How you doing again? We made it back. It's not officially a Friday since this is slightly pre-recorded, but it is a Friday, and it's good seeing you. How's it go?
Likewise, brother. Always good seeing you. Always love being in the place here on Community Beacon. Man, last month was a whirlwind. So it was like we were recording shows. They were out of order, just to make sure that we got them done. And now we're finally back together, heading into this month, which I'm excited about. I'm excited about the topic. But just real quick before we get into the topic of what we're going to discuss this month, in which we have five Fridays. So you get to see us 5 times this month, God willing. Let's get into the shows. We got Motivation Mike. That's what they're calling it. I don't necessarily call it Motivational Mike. I'm still fighting it a little bit. But on that, you're going to get a little bit of real estate. We're going to get some growth concepts. We're going to get some tips. A lot of the things that I'm implementing within my life now. It's 9 o'clock, around 9 o'clock. I'm really trying to get it in as early as possible. 8:55 if I can, 8:50. So that's always excellent. Of course, we have It Starts With Me. I got a sneak peek of who's going to be on the show. I got a sneak peek, and I know this person. Man, years ago, I did an interview with her. It's awesome. Is it Marina? Is it Marina Haber? Oh my God.
Marina Shakur Haber. Yes.
I love Marina. I mean, so much. I love what she's done. And I actually saw her when she first got into a group that I did back in the day called Toastmasters, which I need to get back to. And I remember when she first started, and I see where she is now. There she is. Oh, man. Man, loads of wisdom, loads of experience. I can't wait to see and hear the interview that you have with her on It Starts With Me on Wednesdays at 12:30. You want to talk about it a little bit, brother?
Yeah, man. Honestly, Marina she is a wealth of knowledge, inspiration, and a fountain of youth. Yeah. She's absolutely beautiful. She's got a great internal mind that just radiates and captivates the audience much more than I ever had thought. In speaking with her on the community through Toastmasters, we're limited because of the structure of the organization to our conversations, but going outside the box, when she began to open up and how she began to explain how she was able to reach higher levels of self-awareness, it was just beautiful. I loved it. So you're going to love this show. You're going to love it, man. Tune in. Yeah, man. Everybody.
You're tapping in with everybody. The brother is tapping in with everybody. There's no stone being left uncovered who you're interviewing. And it's awesome. I love seeing the growth of that show and the growth of you as well. And of course, that leads us to here Friday, Community Beacon every 6:30. I know you all are talking about us in the grapevine because the grapevine gets back to me. And I'm listening and I'm hearing, and I appreciate everything that you all are saying about us, exactly what we're doing, and we're here just to inspire. Like I said, we're a beacon. We want to be a beacon for the community. 6:30. So as you're watching this, please there it is, comment, share, and subscribe. I can say no more, man. I want to get into this month. Last month we were talking about wellness. You got to pause on that one. You got to pause on wellness, because if you get a chance, go back and watch each and every episode from the beginning until the end. It's chocked with so much information, and it's so much information that I know me and the brother, like we've been super busy for the past 4 or 5 months. This is almost like the only time that we get to interact, and it's like I want to call him the next day or the day after and like really, really get, go deep into some of these subjects. But, on the show, we try to keep it to 30 minutes. Today it'll be about 30, 45 minutes. We try to keep it about an hour and 15 minutes. But I really like to, I like to do a deep dive, because me and him can get into it and get to talking for hours to where we, we can't stop. So last week, go check out those episodes, and then we get into tonight, brother. What are we getting into this month for the next 5 weeks?
So this month, it's all about, younger self / children, a little bit of a mix of the two. And, today is the intro to the younger self. That's what it's all about. And so what we want to do is we want to share, thoughts and considerations on what we will say to our younger selves, right? And not only that, but then in the midst of that reflection, how we would deal with, or how we are dealing with, our young people now, our children now, and the young people in the environments that are around us. One thing about me and many people that know me, I'm more like the neighborhood father. Because if you get in my pathway, if you come within my range,
what's the range? What's the radius?
I mean, the radius, the diameter is not, it's not based off of foot, square foot or meters. It's definitely not that. It has everything to do with the people that I know and I understand, because once me and you are at that one spot where you feel me, I feel you, your children act up, I'm there. Your children do good, I'm there.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm coming through to help out, And if the children out here in this street, now this one does have to deal everything with the radius. Square footage, and you're acting up on my street or in my environment, then I have no problem with helping you to get it together.
Supporting you. We're supporting you get it together. Injecting different things of wisdom, etc. I feel it. I think you're right. It doesn't necessarily have to be with the diameter. I always think that people give off certain energy. And I know when you walk into a room or there's the energy that's given off, I don't know how you calculate it, call it the footprint or something of that nature. If you're within Joe's footprint, you're going to know about it, you're going to feel it, and you're going to be affected by it. So definitely. What would you?
Go ahead. Go ahead. What?
I was about to read out loud, but I was reading out loud. I was looking at, we getting directed from the backstage. So shout out to Anna for keeping us in line.
Yeah, prompting. Good prompt right there. So what will you say to the younger you? That's it. And that really breaks it. That really takes us right on into where we want to start off with today, right?
Yeah. So of course, for the rest of the month, like Joe said, we'll be talking about the younger us. This was an interesting perspective. I'm glad that we're bringing it up now. It was interesting that I saw a client of mine. I sold her house. I actually helped her buy a house maybe about 2 years ago. And then now she's about to move again. So we're putting her house back on the market. And I haven't seen her in a while, physically. Well, of course, we interact through Facebook, messages, etc. She's checking in with me. I'm checking in with her, making sure she's okay. But we haven't physically seen each other. And she said when she saw me, what was it? Today's Friday. So I think it was Tuesday, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. Tuesday. And she said, "Oh my God, you look younger than when I saw you before."
Yeah. I like
and I told her, flattery will get you. What do you need me to do?
It will get you everywhere. It will get you everywhere. Flatteroid.
What do you want me to do? How do you want me to? But it was good. It was good. And of course, it's always good to hear as you start to get a little bit up in age. But I always thought that it wasn't necessarily the age. It's definitely about maturity, and it's about it's just about the growth and how you feel. So really, it's about maturity to me. Age is a number, but we'll go back because you're talking to two brothers that have progressed. Muhammad Ali says the same man that looks at life at 50, the same way if he looked at it as he was 25, would have wasted 25 years of his life. So I appreciate being around people who are growth minded. I appreciate people who are maturing. And I also appreciate people that don't want to be stuck in one place. We just continue wanting to grow. And so because you do have people who it seems that where you left them is where you found them. Where you find them is where you left them. You might have not seen them for 22 years, and now here I'm in my late 30s, and I go back and it's almost like they're still 22 years old. So I don't know what they would say to their younger self, because to me it seems like they still are their younger self. But I definitely know that I have grown when I look back at what I was looking like, and I know the brother has some experiences to share that he has grown. And so to answer the question, do I need to answer the question?
Yeah, I mean that's the topic that we're on right now.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm sure we'll roll right on into it. That's funny that you were mentioning that about Muhammad Ali, because I'll say this part. There's a scripture. It's in the book of James, right? The book of James, the first chapter, and it's all about verse 22. But it's all about yourself, And it was the scripture where James was teaching to be a doer of the word and not just a hearer only, because in so you deceive yourself. You deceive yourself by not being a doer. You deceive yourself. You hear it, but you don't do it. You deceive yourself. And you become, that 23rd verse, it makes it clear, even more clear to me, because it's like you heard this word, you didn't do it. You're equivalent to a person that's looking inside of a mirror and you don't recognize any flaws. You're talking about the being funny with the vanity aspect of it. Hey, you look younger now than you ever did before. When we were talking about wellness, we started to talk about how you got to take care of yourself, take care of your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit. If you're not doing that, then you're aging beyond measure. You're cutting off the latter end of your life little by little. And when we recognize those things inside of our life, we should be like looking in the mirror and say, oh, you know what? I'm gaining weight. Let me go ahead and ease up off of the chocolate cake. We should look at ourselves and we should recognize I'm starting to feel depressed. I should go and I should speak with somebody about feeling depressed. I should get rid of this energy. Oh, I realize that I'm getting lazier. I should put myself on a regimen and start to get up and move around. I feel like I haven't progressed, mentally. I should start reading self-help books. I should take on something, and that's what that means. So I think that for me to answer this first question, I teach my children now, listen, learn, do, so that's like one of the things that I pass on. And so what I would say to my younger self is listen, learn, do. You have to listen to your heart. How many times when I was young, I didn't listen to my own heart, my own, my heart was like, nah, you don't need to go out and do that. Don't do that. And I was like, I'll be all right. And trouble came. Trouble came. Trouble came. I'll give you a one for instance, Mike. And I don't know if I should tell the whole story. I'll give a little bit of it, brother. But I was hanging out with these guys that I didn't even feel comfortable hanging out with. I was like, I probably shouldn't be hanging out with these guys. But I did anyway, because I was living a certain type of lifestyle. And man, they started talking about what they were going to do to somebody else. Now, they were serious. And I got a chance to find out because I ended up being in a car, sitting in the back seat, just hanging out when things literally popped off. And I was like, whoa. Every last one of them brothers ended up in jail. All of them did. I didn't do a thing. Thank God, man. I was
for that incident or for something else?
For that incident, I didn't do a thing. I mean, I couldn't do a thing because I was in the car and I didn't know that it was literally going to happen like right at that very moment. And it did, and I ended up witnessing everything, and everybody survived. Every single person survived. But those dudes ended up going to jail. And it was like, if I had just listened to my own heart and learned the lesson that was being taught, and then followed through with not going out and being active with those individuals, I would have saved myself from the travesty of being a witness to that incident.
Right. All right. Listen. That's interesting in regards. So even when you're talking about in respect to listening, it's listening to your heart, listening to that sense that someone's talking to you that said, young Joe, this might not be the environment that you necessarily need to be in. So yeah, thank God that you didn't necessarily take part into it and have to go to jail. And I mean, there's so many lessons that we learn, but I think some of the stuff that we do is, man, it's almost like if you don't learn the lesson early, you'll learn it late. And there's certain, I mean, we all want to skip steps. We just want to we want wherever there is, we want to get there. And then of course we know now when you get there, there's somewhere else to go. But we want to skip the steps. We want to figure out, what is it that we can do in order to, get to whatever destination we think we would like to be in. And as a youth, it's even more so. And my saying used to be, I knew everything until I turned 18. Like before I turned 18, it's like I lost all the knowledge that I had. Because when I turned 18, 19, that's when life started to hit you, like left and right. It was like, but up until then, it was a lot of theorizing, theoretical. I'm still a very logical person. I have a C personality. So I tend to be very logical in steps, and just a lot. And most things are based on past experiences or past statistics, etc. Like I'm very logical in my thinking, and I've always been that way. So, common sense. I thought I was a person. I had the most common sense. I knew the most. No one could tell me anything. And now that I'm in my later 30s, I'm looking back and saying, Lord, have mercy. You think you know, but you have no idea. I can see God just sitting there just like, okay. You know how the older people say, just live a little bit longer.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Just live a little bit longer. And so, that's I've always been a very logical person. And truth be told, I think at a real young age, I already had how I would have my things laid out. like what things would happen. Like I didn't know the exact experiences that was going to come with it, but I pretty much understood the trajectory of where my life was. And I don't know if that's because of how it was instilled in me or how, what someone told me, but definitely it was like I understood the path that I needed to take. What ended up happening is, though, I stayed in certain stages longer than I should have. There was times when, and I believe in God, and God's speaking through me and to me, and He's saying, okay, that's enough of that. Move on to the next step. But because I was so comfortable in that stage, I was like, and I'm fine. I could literally remember there were times when I was at the center, when I was working, and it was crazy because I bought the 4-Hour Work Week, that book, and I was reading it, and it told me to put something on my computer to track my time. And like for a year straight, I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't progressing much. I wasn't reading into anything. I think I spent the majority of my time on WorldStar. That's what, before WorldStar became this big thing, it was this little, it was a website and I used to bring my laptop into work, and I would just be on there just watching whatever was going on and this is like for a year. And then you look up a year later, and you look back, and now I'm looking at how much time I was spending on, stuff that had nothing for me. And it was just a year gone in life, so that was like a lesson learned, because I was able to actually track that and say, oh my God, Mike, you were spending this much time taking in this much information that did nothing for me. And here's the thing, guys, and I tell this to people all the time, is that, and I used to tell them, the kids that we used to work with, I said, you're 18 now. You're going to wake up and be 29 if you're doing some of the things that you're doing. And you're going to look back and say, what did I just do for 11 years? And then what happens then is, especially when it's that long, you start second guessing yourself. You start getting it. And the crazy part is that you ever go back to, I don't know if you ever go back to the neighborhood, but I go back to the neighborhood, I'm driving through it. And some of the people that I was hanging out with or that I knew are still under, let's call it the mango tree. They still are doing things underneath the mango tree. If you're from where we're from, you know what people are doing underneath the mango tree. You know what I mean? Especially today's a Friday, decent afternoon, it just stopped raining. Time to go outside and go underneath the mango tree. And before you know it, you're 20, you're 30, you're 40. And believe it or not, there's still people who are 50, going into their 60s, that are still under the mango tree. Right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. So this is a chance for us to, and you know what else this month is about, and I think for our audience and viewers, is that this month should be a lot of reflection. Like we can take this month, all of us, this is April 1st, we're in the second quarter, and you can reflect back as long as you want. You can reflect back to the first quarter of the year. You can reflect back to last year. You can reflect back to pre-pandemic, reflect back to whatever, and say, okay, have I done anything intentionally to push me towards the goals, or where it is, or do I even have goals? How do I get goals? Yeah. So for this entire month, I asked, within this, looking back at our younger selves, take time to reflect, see where you were. And some of us have done a lot. So take back time to reflect and say, hey, I've come a far way, and give yourself a clap on the shoulder. Because some of us, some overachievers, we don't even say, oh my God, look how far we've come, and all the obstacles that we've been through. So, this is going to be excellent for everybody. Take time to answer these questions. What would you say to the younger you? Yeah. And comment it and talk to us. And for those of us that say, okay, well, man, and you do this reflection, and you're saying, man, I don't even know if I have goals, or where I have goals, or where it can take place. That's when you start to ask these questions. You're in this community, so let's move as such. And Joel spoke about it earlier. If you are in his vicinity, if you are in the energetic footprint, you are going to get some wisdom and experience, because God is speaking to him just like that as well, and some counseling. And he's a perfect person to talk to as well. You know what I mean? All right.
Definitely
my
appreciate
diet
that,
chart.
brother. Man, but you came right back to that same passage, you know. I love that. I love that. You know, y'all read that passage in James, you know, First James 22, go all the way down to like 20, 25, you know. Just read that passage because that's exactly what it's talking about. The reflection, beholding your natural face in a glass, it's like to behold your own reflection. But you have to think about that. It's not like just looking in a mirror. It's like saying, I'm going to look back into my own life. You know, there used to be a song, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. It's me. It's me. I'm the one who I'm looking at. And when it comes down to what I would say to my younger me, I mean, there's a lot of things that I would love to say, but I don't know if me saying that to the younger me would change who I am today and make me, I don't know if I'd be better or worse. So that reflection, I then forward, can I say it's not a forward reflection, but I cast that out, you know, I forecast that reflection out, you know, towards my children and towards the people in my environment. And if anything, now I take my reflection of my last 20 years, even now, I'm 42 years old. I take the reflection of my last 20 years and I am forecasting my next 20 years. I want to see if I can affect change. God give me the years to see 62 and I can make those types of changes inside of my life that I know that I could have done better with the last 20 years. Because once we have studied this thing, then we start to look into the law of liberty. You know, we free ourselves. And that's what the community beacon is about. It's about opening up a beacon, a light to the community and through ourselves to be able to see how we can progress into a new, brighter, better, more liberated future. That's what it all comes down to. This question that we're referring to, that we're talking about, is something that needs to settle, needs to sit and settle with inside the hearts of young and old everywhere. Because sometimes, as Mike said, you may be doing really good knocking them things off the box, you know, check mark, check mark, check mark. I did it, I did it, I did it. But meanwhile, you may be leaving your children alone on the side of the road. You may be leaving your wife or your husband or your family members. You may not be checking in with them and they're getting older and people are passing away and you may be losing that time. You know, it is about you, wherever you are and how that is affecting you. So that's, you know, and when it comes down to listen, learn, do, you know, Mike, when it comes down to that, it's also this instruction that I give to my youth, my little boy, you know, and or those that I mentor along the way, something that I take also. You know, when I hear that nugget of wisdom, I, you know, Mike was just talking, I hear it. I'm listening. Immediately, I take time to learn about that and then apply it. You'll hear a lot of things that we discuss because Mike will open up something to me, and I'll be like, whoa, you know, and maybe I might open up something to him. It's a different perspective. But there's something about that heart, you know, something about that mind that says, that's true. That's true. What they're saying is true. You have an opportunity right then because it's like the clouds have parted. The sun is shining on you and everything is very clear in that one moment that what is being said is true. And not only is it true, but it is for you. And at that very moment, you have an opportunity to take that, grab that energy, that nugget, that life, that knowledge, that blood, that breath. You have an opportunity to grab that moment, that chance, and pull it into you. And you have that opportunity to learn all you can about it because that very well may affect the trajectory of your life going forward. That could be a moment in your time that will depict a certain lifestyle versus another lifestyle. And you got to act on that. You got to do something with that. Don't take any further time. Do it and do it right now. Trust in that thing. Believe in that thing and run with that thing.
Run with it. Run with it. You know what's interesting, and I guess we can it's a conversation that could be had. Is that I almost feel like you're gonna learn the lesson or not, because
yes,
or not, and if you don't learn the lesson,
a brief moment, everybody suck that in.
You'll learn the lesson or not, and you're gonna keep repeating that lesson over and over. I had some things this week, that happened, and I said, you get that feel, and here's the thing, guys, because we got a saying, subdue your passions and improve yourself, right? Subdue your passions and improve yourself. So and we spoke about passions, like I think in December was one of those times, December, November, something like that. We really got in depth with passion. And when you're passionate about something, and it happened to me earlier today as well. When you're passionate about something, this thing starts to well up inside of you. It wells up inside of you to where it's just like, it just gotta come out. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I got to react. I have to take action. It is and it's truth be told, it is an energy, and you need to figure out what to do with it.
A nearly uncontrollable energy.
Yeah, a nearly uncontrollable. So you did it. And so what was interesting was I said, I said, let me call the brother. And it just so happened the brother didn't pick up the phone. God, right? And then, so what's the next thing to do? Because now it's just like, okay, because the brother normally is going to be there for this passionate thing to come out. And then I just said, you got to, I hear you got to sit with it. You got to go sit and you got to go pray with it. You need to go sit. You need to go be quiet. And then I went and I sat with it. And then a couple things came in my mind and said, you know what, Mike? This is not your first time at the rodeo. You have seen this movie before. This is Halloween Part 9.
Oh my God. It's gotta be Halloween.
All
movies, brother.
Fast and the Furious 9. Now, how about Fast and the Furious 9? There's been a Shrek 3, Shrek 2. Right? And so you get it in. Okay, so boom. So the brother's always going to call you back. He's always going to call me back. Hey, what's going on? By the time we're on the phone, it's more so just, just having a conversation. I was almost laughing about it, right? It was just like, it was laughing about it. And so just like, so you're gonna, or what could have happened, so I was proud of myself. When I'm telling you the joy I felt after that moment, and then you brought it to my attention of that lesson after we had that question, I had so much joy and so much peace. Everything was going on, and I felt so good. I felt so good that the next day I said, for this, I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to fast for the day. And so I woke up in the morning and I said, I'm going to fast for the day because I got so much peace and joy from the night before. And so I fasted for the day. Woke up this morning in an even better mood. Because everything and things are just, doing what they're doing. And it was just like, okay, this is what happens when you subdue your passions and start to improve yourself. You start to feel this. That's when the peace and the joy starts to come. So I thought it was interesting. It's interesting that we're talking about it, but it's that passion. And I'm saying that to say this is that lesson that needs to be learned. And if you don't learn it, you're going to keep repeating it. Because if I had given into my passion, then I would have repeated that lesson. It would have been, and I'm like, that good old regret. I shouldn't have did that. Hindsight is 20. I shouldn't have did that. It feels good when you don't do it and you look back and say, thank God I didn't do it. Thank God I got it, because I got so much more peace from actually having to sit in that, in what I had to sit in. So thank the Lord for that. And it just reminded me of another story. I was talking to a client of mine, and she was saying the same thing. She called me one day. She said, Mike, I was looking for a property for her. I'm selling her property. And she said, Mike, don't worry about getting me the next property. She said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to move here. where she didn't want to move her initially. She said, but I got a word last night that said I need to move in with this person. And although I didn't want, whatever case may be. And she said, and she's older, so she was like, and I know from past experience, when I don't do what I'm told to do, she's talking about the spirit talking to her, that I end up in, I think, brother, you spoke about it. You end up in more trouble. You end up in compromising circumstances. You end up in hurtful situations. But because she had the wisdom to understand and know that, yeah, she can go get another property and be more comfortable. But at this point in her life, even at her age, which is older than both of us, she's being put in uncomfortable situations. So what that also says is that no matter how old you are, 60, 70 years old, you can always put yourself in uncomfortable situations. So it's not over for you. It's not over for you.
That's powerful, because, and that brings me back to that little lesson: listen, learn, do. As simple as it is, that's something that's going to repeat throughout our lives for the rest of our life. My dad would always tell me, he'd say, the minute you stop learning is the minute you die. You should always be learning. We should always be learning. We should always be learning. There's always something to learn about, to become better at, and I think that's important. I love that. I love that. This is what we're passing on to the children. This is what we're passing on to each other. This is what we're passing on to the community. Take the time. You got some really powerful individuals, strong individuals, courageous individuals, stand up type of individuals, worthy individuals to listen to. As we talked about that scripture in the book of Proverbs, I think it was the first chapter, the 5th verse. And, a man of understanding will seek unto wise counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I look for someone who does, I look for someone who does. So as I'm going through life, I'm always looking for my next teacher. A buddy of mine, he would always say, it's a famous quote, but he said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Mm-hmm.
That's a powerful statement, but it insinuates that we are always in a level of learning.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be a student, just like I'm always going to be, a child. I will, I'll be a child. I'll be a child to my parents, or for that matter, I'm a child to my God. So that means there will always be something that I can learn from in that aspect. Yeah. So I love it, man. And that's something that I would, if I could teach myself when I was younger, like I said, I don't know if I'd tell myself, maybe I would, but maybe I might not be brothers with you, Mike. If I had learned my lessons early on in life, I might not even be in Florida. I might still be in Virginia,
Well, if you were coaching yourself,
yeah. Well,
if you could go back and actually coach yourself through certain things, I'm sure you come in and say, "Hey, I need to." I think it was a movie that just happened, and it was about oh my gosh, the Adam Project. I don't know if you all got a chance to watch that on. Yeah, this Ryan Reynolds. I like Ryan Reynolds. I mean, he's like the same person in every movie where he's talking to himself. He has these little jokes, and it's interesting. Anyways, long story short, in that movie, he gets to go back and I'm not going to give you the spoiler, but it's something similar to the butterfly effect.
Gotcha.
Butterfly effect, not that movie, to where you go back and it kind of says that, like energies or certain energies are so strong that they're drawn to each other. So maybe it may not have necessarily been me per se, but it would have been you meet somebody like me, because you're going to meet like similar energies on the journey, or perhaps you don't even, because of your growth, you don't necessarily need that teacher. You might have already, you might be past that lesson, but I think like energies kind of go back. But we're here now. We get a chance to have that conversation with our younger selves, because there's definitely some things, all things being, everything turning out, all the people that we love still being around, et cetera, there's definitely certain things I would have went back and slapped my hand on, slapped the back of my head and say, hey, relax a little bit. Don't be so impulsive. Don't go down that road, but there's certain things that I wouldn't trade for the world.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, make sure that you're here on this night and make sure that you're doing this to understand and learn what it is that you need to learn. Because I think you need to learn the lesson, man. There's something about that experience and living life.
Yeah. And that's crazy, because when you think about it like that, from that perspective too, man, it's like I can think back and there's many of those things that I should have learned when I was younger, but I did end up learning them. Yeah. It would have been nice to have learned it earlier. Like I took it in.
Yeah.
I absorbed it, much like a sponge, I absorbed it, but I just didn't utilize what it was that I had absorbed. But later on in life, sometimes years later on in life, all of a sudden, sure as I went through that scenario or I learned that lesson from my mother or from somebody who was active in my life, it came back up. And I'm like, that's what that is. And I changed then, So it's an interesting thing. Now I take the time, I take my little boy or I take my girls, and I tell them things. And here's the deal. You can do whatever you want with it. I mean, there's a certain amount that you almost have to do because you're in my household. You know what I mean? And the way that I give that information, I do my best to give them a certain amount of freedom to walk within it, but I'm still looking for certain results, right? But I give them this information irregardless, because if I don't give it to them, then they don't even have it. It's about developing good processes. It's about being able to take in and to learn how to judge wisely the things that are happening inside of your life. And that needs to be instilled inside of a young person at a very, very young age so that they can grow in that wisdom. Along with that, I believe, and the young man, I was just talking with the young man on It Starts With Me. Maybe Anna could tell me when his show's going to come up, but his name is Kurt. I believe it's Kurt Jordan. And I think he was out in Texas, but he used the term diffuse. April the 13th. Diffuse. Check it out on It Starts With Me. He's from Washington. April the 13th. And he used that term diffuse. And he's got this thing called the Kong Academy. And one of the things that he teaches young people is that when they get frustrated, when they get sad, when they get angry, when they get all these emotions that we quote unquote call, negative, how do you diffuse that? And I think that was powerful when he opened that door up. Because it's like we're teaching our children, and it's like, hey, don't cry, don't hit, don't do all these things. But as we say don't, we give them a whole lot of don'ts, but we don't give them as many do's.
Yep. I love that.
The do is important, brother.
Yeah,
it's very important. What do I do, Dad? Listen, just don't do that.
That's a poignant point, and I'm glad that man is teaching that to the younger people, because it wasn't until I was up in age and I said, listen, I remember I had a conversation with a counselor. I said, listen, I got all this energy, it's in there, and I don't know when to not let it come out. This is when I was learning to talk tactfully to people. I said, I'm talking more tactfully, but what happened was when I started talking more tactfully and it wasn't coming out the way that I wanted, my first wanted to come out, the energy was still there. So it was like, what do you do with it? And some people, they can hold it for a little bit, but then sometimes it ends up exploding or it ends up showing some other kind of way. So, that's awesome that brother is teaching those young people what exactly to do with those energies. All right, listen, people. We're gonna have to cut out a little bit. I'm getting the signal. This has been I think this has been a well-spent show. This month is going to be excellent. Like I said, we have an extra 4 weeks. This is the first week. There's 5 weeks in April. We have 4 more weeks to go where we're going to get into it. And my last comments in regards to it is start, Think about reflect on some of the stuff that we're talking about. Reflect on yourself. Share with us, because you can't imagine how many other people are going through what it is that you're going through, and how your testimony, the tests that you've been through, will definitely help them out and support. So this is going to be exciting. I love it. I can't wait for the next episodes.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that, brother. Hey, listen, everybody, just come on, throw those ideas in there. We love to hear from you. Be a part of the community. Share your light. Yeah. Share your light. Be a part of this beacon. It's not just about us. It's about you too. So let's all be a part of this community beacon, and let's share this information, this knowledge, so that we can help other people to not just learn what they don't need to do, but to learn what they need to do in order to be successful. Peace.